Have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
I've been very clear. The president's not going to pardon his
And
son.
one more. Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Second one, would the president pardon or commute his son?
I was very clear, and I said no. I've been very clear. The president's been very clear when we've been asked this question. And he said he would not pardon his son.
You've said before that the president would not pardon his son. Is that still the case?
Nothing has changed. That is still the case.
The president would not pardon or commute the sentence for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
With breaking news tonight, President Biden has made a decision to pardon his son, Hunter.
Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. Even though he said he would not, President Biden has issued a broad pardon for his son, Hunter.
Faith in the rule of law. Finally. Democrats have a moral perch from which they can judge without shame, hypocrisy, or nuance.
Breaking news, President Biden has issued a pardon for his son, Hunter Biden.
Mother... We were so close.
Have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
I've been very clear. The president's
Not supposed to go in a loop like that, but welcome in, folks, to the Coast to Coast Conversations. We started off with a montage because that is the main topic of today's conversation is the Hunter Biden pardon from his father. As you saw, this is a 180 from where he had been telling us, where the administration was telling us it would not happen. But Michelle has a lot of the backstory on some of this stuff. Give it to us, Michelle.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Who would have thought Sunday would have been the day that Biden pardons his son? And not just any pardon, a blanket pardon, right? He went all the way back to 2014. So it wasn't just the gun charges that he pardoned him for. It was for any potential or hypothetical crimes that this man may have committed. And I'm angry over it. Now, as a mother, I would probably pardon my own children as well. I wasn't angry at that, but what more so angers me is the fact that it's a blanket pardon, and the date and length of time goes back to 2014. You know, when do you guys know what happened in 2014? Javen, do you know what Hunter Biden was doing in 2014?
I'm gonna take a guess. Is it the Burisma?
Yes.
On the board, yeah.
Yes. It's ridiculous. He joined the board in 2014, and then it was in 2015 Biden came out and talked about the video. I don't know. It angers me, and it makes me look forward to, is Trump going to pardon the January 6thers? I don't know. Should he? I don't know.
Well, we will definitely get to the J6. I think we'll put that on the tail end. But the 11 years, not like 15 years, not like 10 years, just very specifically 11 years from 2014 now. And I just want to get Javen and Michelle's reaction. I'll even put up the pardon while we're getting their reaction to it.
Well, look, I still don't think he's going to pardon his son. He says I can do it. He's not going to pardon his son, okay? We have to take him at his word. He's not going to do it, okay? No.
Right here.
No, look, I kind of said before the election even happened, if Biden loses, he needs to pardon his son. I mean, that's your son. You need to do that. It just makes the most sense. You really have nothing to lose in the long term of pardoning your son. The short term, yeah, you may seem like you're undermining law and order, and then you say you're going to do what the jury says. I mean, pardons are nothing new. The question really is, do we do something about pardons at the same time? I mean, we've seen in recent histories pardons have waned I mean, Herbert Hoover in his first term, he pardoned over 1,000 people. We saw Trump pardon over 150 people. I mean, but now the question is, I mean, to Michelle's point, the blanket pardon, that's extreme. That's something that we haven't seen since Watergate. Gerald Ford gave Nixon a blanket pardon in 1974. It's the last time we saw it. But now, look in history as well. Look at Trump at the same time, because Trump in 2020, he did pardon Charles Kushner. It's Jared Kushner's father. He pardoned him. So if we're talking about family members, we got to remember that as well. I mean, all in all, I like the power of pardons. The Supreme Court in, I think, 1874 said that Congress cannot put laws that are going to restrain the president's power to pardon, and that's because they saw the president as kind of that checks and balances when it comes to unfair punishment and cruelty. So I'm all for pardons, but we definitely need to make sure that the public does hold the president accountable when it comes to these pardons. I think these blanket pardons are too extreme and something that should not be accepted by the public.
Yeah, excuse me. For me, I think that I'm thinking he has like a get out of jail Monopoly free card, you know? I was playing Monopoly the other day with my kids, and it's crazy because as much as it's a game, it's like you start to see how it really works, right? But anyways, with the whole pardon thing, I believe that, yeah, of course, you know, we should have the ability to pardon, but it has to make sense to be able to make that pardon. And I get the point where I saw a lot of people come against Trump, his family. Oh my goodness, he was taken to court every other day. You know, he had people were suing him at all times, and they were literally wanting to take him down. And so, do I think that it's right that they play this game? No. But after doing my research, because at first I thought, okay, you know, it happened in the other side and it's happening here now, but shouldn't we hold both sides liable to that? We shouldn't let any party be able to do that. So just because I believe in one party or the other, it doesn't mean, oh, I should be for the fact that he did that. And in this case, Joe Biden slapped the face of both parties, and the Democrats, even some of them, came out and said, you know what? Like, for example, we had Representative Greg Stanton that said he didn't agree with that. You know, Joe Biden came out for a whole year and said, I will not pardon my son. I will respect what the jury says. And all of a sudden, of course, his son, he pardons his son. And it wasn't something that we can say, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. It was something that it was just a political tactic against his family, or no, like these are actual charges that the man needs to be held liable to. And so again, should we define what this pardon should really look like? So that's kind of my thing. Not right from either party to be able to do this. It's really scary if you think about it. It's really, what can people get away with in the future, right? So got to be careful with those pardons.
That's right. We have somebody live on our YouTube page who asked a question, Mr. Blanton, the board of what? I'm a little confused. The board of Burisma. Burisma is a gas company that operates out of Ukraine. When Joe Biden was vice president of the United States in 2014, in fact, I'll play a little clip of Joe Biden explaining it himself. And then I'm going to sort of analyze the story and debate Javen a little bit here. Let me find it. All right, here we go.
I'll give you one concrete example. I was not but it just happened to be that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones, and so I got Ukraine, and I remember going over convincing our team, or others, to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to the press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
And that prosecutor that Joe Biden got fired was the prosecutor that was trying to go after Hunter Biden and the Burisma board. And Joe Biden didn't like that, so he wanted a new prosecutor. If you remember, this was a part of impeachment #1 with Donald J. Trump, when Donald J. Trump had a phone call with Zelensky saying, Joe Biden's out here saying this on camera. Can we look into it? How come he can influence you guys to fire prosecutors and not go after family? The Democrats didn't like that. They thought it was some sort of election collusion and going up against your opponent or whatever. Like, he's just asking Zelensky to go into it. Next thing you know, they trounce on him for impeachment #1, which is part of the reason why I disagree with Javen. The Kushner thing. The media wasn't asking Trump a billion times about this. This was all later in the lame duck days. Versus this has been going on. This Hunter Biden thing has been going on since 2014. It was released, the whole Hunter Biden laptop thing, the whole Burisma thing was released during the 2020 election. Everybody knew about it. Biden's out here talking about it. There was an impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden in relation to Hunter Biden and the Burisma board. Joe Biden goes on record and says he won't pardon his son, and then he does a 180 and does this, which ultimately proves that Hunter Biden is guilty. The fact that you have to pardon him because it's going to protect you from some impeachment inquiries going forward. But we will get into all that, how that pardoning actually hurts the Biden family overall, because the Fifth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment will not apply to anyone who is pardoned, because you're not incriminating yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you were intending to give a response from me, but I will say to that video itself, I mean, we have to back up a little bit and kind of look at it on a bigger scale. I know we love to say that video proves that Biden was corrupt, that he was trying to get this person solely fired because they were going after Hunter Biden as his son. But we also have to remember that during the same time, this was an international effort, and they were trying to get this guy fired because he was not prosecuting corruption on the scale they would like. Now, I'm not going to say that Biden did not have a personal interest in this. He from what we see, he did have a personal interest in this, but it's not consistent to say that his actions were for the sole purpose of getting his son's
Well, this
case
clip is from
removed.
2014. It's the same timeline that we just got pardoned, and
1 year
anything
later.
anything he would have been associated with or may have committed or not committed in relation to this whole Ukraine thing.
Now, can I bring up, though, I did hear from some lawyers that now that he is pardoned, though, he has lost the right to plead the Fifth. So if he is brought up to testify at any future trials, he can no longer be allowed to plead the Fifth. And the judge then can hold them in contempt until they give up said information.
And just to clarify why that is, because the Fifth is you can't I'm going to get the words mixed up, but basically, because if you testify against yourself, you're incriminalizing yourself, essentially. I think I'm probably botching that word, but like your words can be used against you.
Yep.
Right. So the Fifth Amendment, because he's pardoned, we can't put him in jail because of something he said. However, we can say, you have to tell us basically everything you know, because you could be used as a witness for other people. So this kind of endangers the people around Hunter Biden. Congress could do something about this. They were already doing an impeachment inquiry. Maybe they could go and keep it going, maybe call it something else and say, hey, we want to know what was going on. We were already researching this. Bring it in. You have to testify before Congress. The problem with it is we're probably going to get just a whole bunch of I don't knows, I don't remember, and whatever. So it probably will end up being meaningless.
And I think my biggest problem with it was when that happened with the laptop, he basically gave China USA information, right? American information.
Right. It was there was a lot of foreign, like China and stuff. Yeah, they had relation with that. Yeah.
And to me, that's my biggest, like, how can the USA use a pardoning for something like that? Something could potentially put the USA in danger to another country like China. That's where I draw. I'm like, oh yeah, no, there's
So you
shouldn't
bring
be a
up
pardon.
you bring up a good point, Gabriella. And now there's discussions, and the Democrats are scrambling about who else he's going to pardon. So think of the timing. Who else can he pardon? And I think Fauci's being named, Adam Schiff's being named, Liz Cheney, I think I heard, was being named as well. So it could open up a whole nother Pandora's box of future things. And you brought up the whole China with, COVID.
I can't imagine. Like, can you imagine if he pardons Fauci? Right, like that would be insane. There would be like an outburst there.
Right. I'll also say this. I find it fascinating too. If you remember Trump's first term, and I don't know if Trump will do this the second term. Trump's the only president really to use pardons throughout his presidency. Typically, you see them in their lame duck session anyway. Like, Jimmy Carter on his way out, sort of one of the broadest pardons, pardoned the draft dodgers, right? Or you're pardoning somebody who has maybe an ounce of weed, whatever. Trump was doing it like midterm and then bringing some of these people into the White House to talk to them. I mean, which is kind of like a good showmanship of genius, but like Biden's just continuing the traditional path of now I'm going to begin all the pardonings on my way out. I just find that very fascinating and a difference in philosophy.
Well, I mean, Trump did pardon people on his way out. He
Well, yeah, he did that.
On the way out. It's not just Biden that is doing that. Just that Biden's doing it to someone who's like really close to him, and it's a bigger name because everybody cares about Hunter Biden and the Biden crime family. Everyone cares about that. But I mean,
no, that's fair. Trump did both, but in terms of like going out on a limb before the election and doing it, we never see anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest story here is Biden said he wasn't going to do it, and people for some reason believed him, and then he did it, and people were for some reason surprised that he pardoned his son for if you have the power to do it, you're going to do it. I mean, like Michelle said, like all of us could probably say if one of our kids or family members were going to jail and we had the power, the legal ability to pardon them, then we're going to do it. I mean, you don't
see.
care.
I wouldn't, because that would make me a bad dad. Look, Joe Biden's been enabling Hunter Biden his entire life. I mean, so this is just continuing the enablement. I mean, think about this. He's been doing drugs, hooker, blow, all this crap the entire time, and everyone knows it, even him. And yet you still enable him to do this. That is a bad. That's being a bad dad. That's a bad dad.
Matt, but this is different though. Okay, look, Joe Biden, who's almost 90, he knock on wood, he doesn't have that much time to live. He wants to spend time with his son. This is different. No, there's no way you would not pardon your son if you.
But it's not even But it's not even about that. It's not about the drugs. It's not about any of that. It's about more than that, right? Because what Michelle said, when you look back at it to 2014, what happened there? He did something that should be like unforgivable. Sorry, Lord. No, he did something that was like, oh my God, it was mind blowing. It wasn't just, he did, I don't know, had firearms under drugs, or no, it was much bigger than that. So that's where I have a problem with it, because something
he's a sleazeball all the way around. We all knew that the laptop was real. We all know that he has gotten some really, really bad things. He's just a bad person now. When I said that I would pardon my children, I would absolutely do that. I would make them, however, do their time. For example, I have a buddy who I went to high school with. You had brought up the ounce of pot. Marijuana is illegal in Wisconsin. He got busted with a large quantity. Wasn't for distribution. It was for personal gain, because, I mean, that's what we did in the 90s. And and he had to go to jail. He became a felon, and he was pardoned after his time. It was a whole process that he had to go through. but he was pardoned of his conviction so that he can vote now. He actually, I ran into him after 25 years, and I ran into him at a gun show, and I was wondering why he was there, knowing his history. So, and that's and he got pardoned. He petitioned our governor, and is now able to vote and purchase firearms. So I think after they've committed their crime or done their time, I would pardon them on the flip side. But
Hunter Biden hasn't done any. And I just think Joe Biden is enabling his kid. And so now the president of the United States is projecting onto fathers across the country, hey, you can enable your kids too. And I just think that's a bad image to have.
Hey, if we're gonna talk morals, we can't be defending Donald Trump's actions at the same time.
I'm talking about Joe Biden.
That's why I said that it's wrong for either party to do it. Just point blank, it's wrong for either party to do it.
I'm not talking about Donald Trump, but here's the thing: I'm talking about your kids do something blatantly illegal, possession of a firearm, lie on a gun form, do drugs, hookers.
That's just bad
somebody. I mean, just some of the stuff's bad. Some of this stuff is way illegal and super obvious. Case in point, Biden's DOJ was the one convicting him. Even their own DOJ, his own DOJ, Biden couldn't even stop his own DOJ from convicting his own son. Okay.
Well, he's not supposed to. That's not his job. If he did that, then that would be a whole new story right there. He's not supposed to. But at the same time, he's weaponizing the DOJ. Like, I love how some people like to have it both ways. He's weaponizing it, and also he can't control it. It's like, make up your minds.
Yeah, well,
so we had Blayton again had asked a question on how it would be even possible to pardon the January 6ers or just anyone who is in jail. I really think for me, I don't know that I think it would be on a case-by-case scenario, right? Blayton, more and more video is coming out about, the raids on people's homes, and they're getting convicted years later for just being there. So I think truly it'd have to be on a case-by-case scenario, because a 75-year-old woman who was standing on the steps outside waving a flag doesn't deserve to spend 5 years in jail. I don't know if that's the story, but you know what? I'm exaggerating, right? But I just think that it has to be on a case-by-case scenario.
Well, Jimmy Carter's sweeping pardon of draft dodgers wasn't case on case. It was like broad, and it's considered one of the broadest pardons in American history. And one of those draft dodgers ended up becoming president, Bill Clinton. So we didn't jail another president as well. So thank you, Jimmy Carter.
You see Jimmy Carter blanket pardoned
all draft dodgers. Boom, everyone. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. And then Bill Clinton became president because of that. But that didn't matter in the 1992 election because it was a three-way. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But there's things Trump could do. He could say, I'm going to blow anyone involved in the Capitol riots or whatever he wants to call it as pardon, or anyone involved in not stealing stuff from the House of Representatives. Because you remember there was one person who stole Nancy Pelosi's laptop, which, yes, that person should be convicted. You don't steal the Speaker of the House's laptop. But again, if you're walking in doing selfies and you don't know where you're at, that's a completely different thing. So it would have to be broad, but then specify anyone not involved in these sort of criminal things. Like very specific, what are the criminal things you're going to not allow on the pardon? That's how I would think that they would go about it. But I don't really know what their team's going to do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if there was people who did anything like that, they definitely need to be taken care of. When I saw that video, I wanted to cry. I was like, oh my God, like, stop it. Like, get out. How disrespectful. I felt like America was disrespected. Like, they were invading our home, and it was just so hard to watch. And I was just like, how dare they? So those people who did do things in there, I don't care if you're a Republican and you're against the Democrats or whatever, you should have not done that. You should have respected that area. So they should definitely do their time. But the people, like Michelle said, girl, I thought you were being serious. I'm like, there's a 75-year-old lady.
No, I mean, No, but there is.
No, yeah, but if
will
it's a
find the
story
article. I
like
know
that,
there's an elderly woman that absolutely, yes, there is. I just
yeah.
don't know the
If they were
specifics about.
just there, like obviously, but yeah, unfortunately, sometimes it's that thing like plot twist. What if Hunter Biden was at January 6th?
Then he's pardoned, baby. He's pardoned. So then he would get a double pardon. He'd get one from Trump and Biden.
He'd make history. That's hilarious. But yeah, so anyways, with that being said, if you did something, yes. If you were just someone who was there, of course not. Because sometimes you want to be part of these things. So you're there, you're excited, but you're not really part of that chaos. So it's hard, case by case, for sure.
That's right. So, politically fallout. So I know we kind of went to the J6 thing. That'll be to be determined. I mean, Trump has said this that he will do some sort of pardon at rallies before, but sort of going back to Biden a little bit, political fallout. I see a couple of things. Joe Biden just hit 38% approval rating, again lowest. He's almost back to Afghanistan withdrawal numbers. Gun control is going to have to be off the table for Democrats for a long time. If you've noticed, since the Hunter laptop thing came and the whole gun form, the last 4 or 5 years, we have not had a massive gun control conversation. That might continue. The left may not pounce on that because they know the right will then point their finger and say, Hunter Biden, and then the left's just sitting there like Biden has left them to do. But Biden has hurt his party also with the people who sat there, that went out on these networks and defended him and said he will not do it. Karine Jean-Pierre, we saw the montage. It will not happen. Makes them look like fools. And it just continues with the infighting with the Democrats, and it hurts the Democrat brand. That's my take on what the future holds, at least for the Democrat Party and the Biden thing. What y'all's take?
I mean, what's new? Looking like fools. The whole he's fine. He's 100% mentally there. There's no problem about him. Shocker. It wasn't. He's a 88-year-old man, 86-year-old man. He has some cognitive 82. Okay. Cognitive inabilities. So no shocker there. I mean, the American people don't trust the Democrat Party right now, and they trust the Republican Party a lot more. There's a reason for that, because there's Donald Trump, someone who's not afraid to speak their mind, someone who's going to tell you how it is, someone who you might not like it, but he's going to get results that he thinks results should be gotten, and sometimes they work out very well for him and the whole American people. So yeah, they have a lot of damage control to go through right now, and it's going to take them a long time to fix the damage they've done with the American people.
Do you think the whole Biden's fine, then he sucks after that debate, and then back to he's fine again? Do you think that just hurts the Democrat Party brand because of all the people who had to go out and defend him and then attacked him, then went immediately back to defending him again? That there's like just a big swath of America that just looks at the Democrats and goes, dude, I don't even know if I believe what you're saying.
It makes it look staged.
Yeah.
It makes it look completely staged. Yeah. Like they're going to sway the media, because media and government, I'm not going to say who, but specifically the Democrats, they put out a lot of news or media that is not really true, and they make things look a certain way. I believe that that's what it's showing. It's just showing more proof that that's what it is.
I mean, I think they'll look at it and they'll say, okay, that's politics. That's exactly what I don't like about DC. Because think about when Trump was in office, we had a whistleblower left and right. We had someone who was going to speak out every single day. You couldn't hide anything in the Trump White House. You got to give Biden's White House credit. They have been very tight-lipped on things, very tight-lipped. So I think American people weren't used to being lied to like that, coming from a Trump presidency where Trump spoke his mind and people in his White House spoke their mind. So I kind of look forward to see what next 4 years look like. Are we going to have a tight-lipped White House? Are we going to have a White House that's the same as the first 4 years of Trump's presidency? I'm inclined to put my money on a very tight-lipped White House, though.
Okay, I will say on the first Trump presidency, some of those whistleblowers, and the Kavanaugh one comes to mind, the Christy Ballsy Ford thing.
Yeah.
just made up nonsensical crap. You know,
You go there. You went to the Kavanaugh. I go to the J.P. Carroll fraud. You know, the one against Trump. You know, that one that got him in his libel cases. You know, she's full of it.
And this time around, I do agree with Jane. It'll be interesting to see, but he has the popular vote now. And there wasn't this anti-Trump sentiment going into this election that it might change just because the culture has changed around Trump. That I think it will get better, not necessarily Trump's changed.
I mean,
what about?
And also, I don't want us to think the popular vote is some kind of like silver bullet where he can do whatever he wants, because that's very rare for a Republican to win the popular vote. So he's got to really take care of and cherish those voters that he got. Because a lot of them were independent, a lot of them were first-time voters who were people my age that didn't know politics, didn't know how to spell politics. So he's got to be really careful when it comes to the next 4 years. Not careful, but just more restrained, maybe.
I agree with you. I look at the popular vote as a temperature check, where Trump in 2016 lost the popular vote by 2.5 million. Which winning the presidency, being down 2.5 million, is the most any of the other 5 people who won without the popular vote lost by. Like George Bush only lost by 500,000 votes overall. Okay, so that's a big difference in how you govern administration 1 to administration 2. So I just look at it as a temperature check. Okay, the American people are generically on.
But I think you
one side or
could
the other.
literally tie it all together, and because the Democrat, a lot of people who voted Democrat swayed over and voted Republican. We saw that a huge number of Hispanics, 45%, about 45 to 47%, voted for Donald Trump as well. You mentioned earlier that people are not trusting the Democrat Party anymore because it looks like politics, like what we don't want in our country. And the Republican side, they were coming against that. They were coming against fake news. They were coming against a government to govern all. They were for the people. And so when you see that, the people gained trust in the Republican Party because of that, or Donald Trump, right? And so anyways, my point is I believe that that's what it was, is a lot of people were exposed to it through social media, because it's the first presidency we really have where you had time. Think about it. We went through COVID 2020. Who was in control of media at that time? Big corporations, big media. They were still in control. People figured out social media videos, and oh my God, it was over. They had 4 years to prepare. Look at Donald Trump. I mean, just as much as Kamala or anyone else was branding themselves, so was Donald Trump. So that's where I believe his favorability came from. And don't get me started. We already talked about the Trump dance, right? The Trump dance became famous and all that. He gained the love of the people, really.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you guys have anything on the sort of gun control issue? Just from the last 4 years of being dead.
Again, lost the Democrat Party. That was one of their biggest talking points. What now? They really couldn't talk about it anymore.
No, I don't think they can talk about it right now. However, Trump was not a very friendly 2A supporter. You know, he, in his term, those were the things that I had to disagree with him on, with the whole bump stock bans and the red flag laws that he is, you know, he allowed in. I don't like his stance on some of those, but I don't know that that's his. I don't know if that's what he truly believes, or if it was just some people talking to him. As it's not him to actually make that. It's not him to write the law, right? It was the ones beneath him that wrote those laws.
I mean, and as Americans, we're more reactive than proactive. So I imagine this discussion will come up again, and unfortunately, it'll have to come up again when there's blood. I don't know where, but it's unfortunate. That's how it is. And I can see Trump being more left and center on this issue than right center on this. Kind of Michelle's point, how he was his first term. He was not very pro Second Amendment when it came to bump stock. So if that day does come, knock on wood, I think Trump will be more left center on this topic than people would expect him to be.
Yeah, the Biden administration flipped and actually was defending bump stocks to the Supreme Court. So the Biden administration was pro 2A and the Trump administration was anti 2A on the bump stock issue, which is kind of an interesting reversal there. Okay, I think we're all wrapped up on the Biden Hunter thing. Pretty interesting conversation here. Javen, you want to lead us off on tariffs and what Mexico and Canada have to say?
Yes, tariffs, aka the weapons of cash destruction, as I like to call them.
Weapons of mass
Like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, nothing new. We've heard that we've heard this since Trump put his name back in the bidding for the White House. He wants to impose tariffs on China, Russia. I'm not Russia. I wish Russia. China, Mexico, and Canada. Mexico and Canada being two of our biggest trading partners. He wants to impose 25% tariffs on those two countries and then 10% on China's imports. I don't know why China's lower, but I mean, Mexico's our top trading country. So what we're looking at is, I think it was November 26th when he tweeted out he was going to oppose it. And this was an effort to get Mexico and Canada to work harder to stop the trafficking of fentanyl and immigrants into the country. A few days later, we saw Mexico kind of already, all right, yes, sir, we'll do it right away. They started doing some things. And we saw Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau kind of throw Mexico under the bus, saying, that's not us. That's Mexico getting all the problems. A report came out, I think 2023, Canada seized 43 pounds of fentanyl versus Mexico's 22,000 pounds of fentanyl. So there's definitely a difference between the two countries, and Canada's kind of like, I mean, why are we in this? What do we do to you? We're your trading partner. So kind of want to get, Michelle, your first thought on that. I mean, do you think these tariffs are something that are going to help this fentanyl crisis and immigration crisis, or hurt, or neither, or both?
All of the above. It's gonna sting. It's gonna hurt for a little while. It really is, because again, at the end of the day, what is it going to do? It's going to increase prices until we can bring that stock and the back home, and purchase domestically and produce domestically, and that it's gonna hurt, and families are gonna feel the pinch. And I mean, you look at right now, at the end of it, the insurance costs are going up, that Trump's going to get blamed for anyway next year, because it's his first year in. So it's just going to be, I think, an expensive first year. 2025, I think, is going to be very, very expensive.
Yeah. And I mean, so Gabrielle, you're not on the Mexican border, but you're pretty close to the Mexican border, being in Nevada, and you live in a heavily Hispanic community. Is this something that people are talking about? I mean, do people, do they drive to Mexico for work and come back to the United States to live? If so, how has that been impacting them, and what have they been saying about it, or what have you been hearing about it?
You know what? That's funny. I should actually ask those people what they're saying about this. I have not talked to them about it. I do know people that do cross the border and work from there, but here's what I have to say. I think about the president of El Salvador. When you think about El Salvador, it was just one of the worst countries, most dangerous countries. And the president from El Salvador, he totally flipped it around. And so he's literally cleaned up the streets. So when you ask about tariffs, will it help? When Claudia Sheinbaum, she's the president of Mexico, she sent Donald Trump a letter saying basically that 75% of immigration has stopped. They are on it, that they are going to be at the border, making sure that people stop crossing. I believe that was Donald Trump's intention, President Donald Trump's intention. We could say that now, and almost. And so I think that it really was to scare them and to, hey, listen, you either put an end to immigration here and you work with us, or we're going to have to do this. I don't know if Donald Trump wants to do that to both parties, or he's willing to. I know he will, but I believe that if they work with him, he'll work with them as well. I mean, that's what he does. That's what he makes mutual benefit changes, right? Like he really, but of course he wants to make sure that it's going to help the United States more. Where the Canadian prime minister, he said that he was like, you know what, like, why aren't you focused on China? Why Mexico is the one that has the people coming in? Hello. So he's kind of like, what's going on? Like, why am I being in the middle of this? So, and that was kind of the little thing there. But anyways, I believe that that's what it's for. I think it's kind of to scare that immigration side of things.
Yeah, and to your point, America and Canada, they both impose strict tariffs on China's EV and some of their manufacturing, but Mexico has not. They have not done that, and Canada's kind of like, okay, America, we've worked with you on this China thing. Mexico is not working with you at all on this. You need to worry about them, not us. So what's going on here? And I mean, I can see the point, because back to immigration, I mean, the northern border in 2023, the same period as I said, the fentanyl number, 200,000 migrants were apprehended at the northern border versus 2 million on the Mexico and American border. So I could definitely see where Canada's coming from. I guess Trump, yeah, this is a negotiating tactic, a strong arm. I get it, but there's definitely something that he needs to work. Okay, Canada is not Mexico, but at the same time, Matt, looky here. So when Trump was president, he successively brokered the U.S., Canada, Mexico trade agreement, which is set to expire in 2026, and we are going to renegotiate. Trump's going around saying he's going to impose tariffs, this and that. Doesn't this kind of water down this trade agreement and say that the American word is not as strong as it should be, saying that at any moment we can falter on what we say and do and impose what we think is right at the cost of another country that we are supposed to be in a trade agreement with?
I don't think so, because permission to make an analogy here. The 2026 is going to be 2 years from now. We're not going to even be thinking about this. These tariffs are about fentanyl. And the analogy is this: the United States are the parents. We're the parents of the world, whether you like it or not. We've got the bigger GDP. We could throw our weight around. Canada and Mexico are kind of like your kids. When they're looking at stuff that's bad for them on the internet, or they go and watch a TV show they're not supposed to, you put them in timeout and you say, fix this problem. Okay, Canada and Mexico, you're in timeout, so you fix the fentanyl problem. Okay, and China, that's one of your friends over there. We're going to slap 10% on you until you figure it out too. No more hanging out with China and having the fentanyl come through here. So Mexico and Canada are in a temporary timeout until they can get their fentanyl thing figured out. And then we can let them out and play, and we can renegotiate in 2026. So that's where I think we're at right now. And it's not going to hurt us, because when I put my kids in timeout, they don't like me for a couple minutes, but then we go back to playing and we forget what happened about an hour later. So that's my analogy of where we're at with this. And just all Canada and Mexico have to do is fix the fentanyl crisis. That's what Trump said the proposed tariffs were about. And I believe it, because it was the same thing in his first term. Remain in Mexico. You're going to have the people remain in Mexico while they wait for their asylum claim. Or we're going to keep slapping tariffs on you. Slap tariffs on you. Oh, you're going to do it now? Great. Boom. All the tariffs removed. As long as there's a goal tied to it, and fentanyl and this illegal drug thing is a big safety concern for the United States, I'm in favor of it. If there's a clear goal, it doesn't, getting in a tariff war just for the sake of a tariff war is not going to help anybody. It's going to make costs go up. But if you're doing it for a national security reason, such as the fentanyl crisis, I'm in favor of safety like that. So that's where I'm at, Javen.
So not Mexico, because we know that government is a joke and she's a socialist. But let's say Canada. Right. I mean, let's say they are doing the best they can to stop this fentanyl crisis. I mean, they're plugged with it themselves. At what point can we say, okay, you guys have done your best. We're going to lift your tariffs. We're going to work with you on this as partners, not as parent and child?
When we start seeing the results go down, Javen, like they have international arms or international like military deals with China too. People are flying from Mexico to Canada and then coming across that border. They're seeing an uptick. Now, it's not to the extent that it is in Mexico, but we need to protect ourselves from every border of the fentanyl getting in illegally. So I don't know all the data numbers, right? We just need to see it in a general trend going down.
But why is our failed border policy the problem of Canada and Mexico? It's our fault that people are being let in. I mean, most of the fentanyl that is coming in this country is coming through legal ports of entry. So why is it that our failed policies? Why do we have to punish our most important trading partners? That's
Sure.
I mean, and that's not a question I'm really asking you. That's more of a question I just really want to know.
Sure. Well,
I
Mexico.
believe they work to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say Mexico's the easiest one, right? Like they let these people have caravans coming all the way through their country, and it's like you're not gonna stop them at your border. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And then Chinese people. That sounds racist. That's not what I meant. But like people of from the country of China, right? They're coming into Canada and they're coming in on that western end through the Washington, Montana side, right? They're not always flying into Mexico and they're illegally coming across. And yeah, some of them come in through legal ports of entry. Then they need to beef up the ports of entry on our side and their side. Part of this is the Biden administration's failure and having a breakup in administrations. This is a learning curve that Americans are going to have to go through when they break it up like this. But some of it is on the other end of these countries and having to crack down on security and safety. But Gabriella, you were talking.
Well, there's always a leader. USA is definitely the leader on things. And sometimes you just have to have someone who delegates things and has to kind of rise up to that. It kind of reminds me of the video where Trump touches the Prince of Dubai and showcases, like, I'm in charge, right? Is it right to do that?
Yep.
I don't know, right? But I will say I feel much safer in my country that way.
Yeah, that's a good point because I can't think of a time Biden did this, but it looks like weakness when you have Barack Obama going and bowing to the Japanese prime minister, and then Donald Trump being like, "No, I own the place." Like if you're going to be number one, you have to act like you're number one. Okay, that when I'm in sales. I used to work in sales. If I wanted to be the number one company, like that was the thing when we were able to take over our competitor and become number one nationwide sales, we have to act like we're number one. We can't be like, oh, well, they're number one, so they get to do this, we get to do that, we're number two. No, you just got to go in and you got to have that mindset. If you're constantly going and bowing to other people and saying, oh, no, you're better than we are and your culture is better than, I mean, you could do things with respect and you can work things out, but you need to know your position and your leverage and not always give that away.
Well, the bowing was more of a respect thing, their culture. I mean, look,
they need to come to our country. We're number one.
Japan respects us, okay? We have what's his name? Big John and Little Boy. I think they respect us now. They know who we are. But for clarification on tariffs, so people who are listening that may not know. So how tariffs really work, and I kind of learned this myself a couple months ago, was that the foreign countries themselves don't pay that tariff fee. The domestic country actually pays that tariff fee. So let's say, for example, Ford. If Ford is bringing in cars from China at 25%, when those cars come into America, China's not paying that tariff fee. That Ford domestically is paying that tariff fee. So that kind of answers the question of, okay, but how are prices going to go up domestically if we raise tariffs abroad, or how we're hearing you won't be paying more, China would be paying more? No, because when that dealerships get those cars in, they're going to mark their prices up so they can cover that tariff fee. So that's a little clarification there, because a lot of people aren't understanding the whole how we paying more. That's how we're going to pay more if these tariffs do go into effect.
It is, but that's again, and that's where it comes back to incentivizing our companies to make domestically here and do things more domestically here. It just goes back to it's gonna feel rough with those high prices right now. And we can't, and Matt, to your point, or Javen, to your question about the fentanyl coming across, we can't truly figure out, is it Canadian fentanyl or is it Southern fentanyl? Yeah. How do you know when it's actually going to be a slowdown coming from Northern versus Southern? Yes, you can look at the numbers once you bust them, but if you don't bust them, you don't really know.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was this show I was saying it on, but one thing I like that Trump does when he talks to these countries and these tariffs is like, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at America for letting you for letting you get away with all this stuff for so long, this and that. That's why
Yes.
I like that he does that. Yeah, it is our fault for our bad policies, and I'm just trying to fix it the best way I know because Congress is going to work with me, so I got to do it the way that I was given power to do. But
I
Gabrielle,
was
you
gonna
can take me
say
out on that.
that I think that that's what it was. It's yes, because they knew they were doing it, right? Like other countries know that it's happening, but they're not doing anything about it. The USA let him get away with it. And now he's like, we're not going to let that happen anymore. So let's fix it, right? So I think that's what he's calling on. But to what Michelle was saying about the, oh my goodness, what were you just talking about, girlfriend? I just lost it. Anyways, tariffs, not a fun subject.
Oh, whether it's the southern border or the northern border first,
With
Michelle.
the data.
With the
Yeah,
data.
of being able to figure out the fentanyl numbers other than just tracking it about the people that are
yes.
busted.
So
what about the gotaways?
The president from Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, when she wrote that letter, she wrote it in a way where she almost tried to sound like she was in control of it. And this is what I'm talking about, because just a little, I don't know, like just letting them a little bit off makes them feel like she feels like she could truly rule over Trump and tell him what it is. She kind of tried to let her or make the letter sound good in a way where it's like, this is how we've helped. This is what's happening, you know. But she also made it sound like she was trying to be in control. And at the end of the letter, she's telling him, by the way, you're the one your country's letting firearms come into our country, and we don't make them, you guys make them. And then she's also saying, and we're not the ones consuming fentanyl, your country is. So pretty much like our country's the one with the problem of consuming it. And so, you know, when you look at those points as well, she, as the leader of her country, she's trying to say, hey, well, it's not our fault that your country is consuming this. And by the way, you have firearms coming to our country. So he has to take control or else he can lose it.
Right. And this is the hypocrisy with Biden is that, you know, he'll just leave weapons in Afghanistan when we leave and do nothing with it. Going to Javen's point.
Fast and Furious. Same with Obama as well, too.
That's true. No, that's true. Gabrielle brought up a good point. Like, we don't want it in our country, but then we go and do things in other people's countries is what ultimately I was commenting on. But then you guys are all making a good point on one thing. So, yeah, we're going to have these tariff things to get security reasons. Right now, the international corporate tax rate is 21%. When Trump did the Trump tax cuts or whatever, it went from 37 to 21%. So now we're just at par with international. He wants to get down to 15%, which then makes us even more competitive around the world. I don't know. This is where the tariff thing will come in, and I hope he doesn't do this. Okay, I'm all in favor of, again, tariffs for security reasons, but don't have it as an extra tax revenue thing for the United States government and just have a trade war, When we reduce the tax to 15%, I really hope we get all the safety things we want and we don't have to have any tariffs, because that will make us so much more attractable for companies to come in and stay in the USA and build things in the USA, because you can get paid. You don't have to pay as much taxes if you're here in the USA. Now, he did say one thing, which was if you build in the USA, he wants to do it 50%. And if you build it outside, then you're just at international par, 21%. What are y'all's thoughts on that? I'm 50-50 on it.
I was about to bring that up because I am so against that. That's picking winners and losers. That's saying, okay, just because you're made here, you get the cheaper tariff. I mean, it's not the coffee beans company's fault that you can't grow coffee beans in America. It's not their fault. You just can't grow coffee beans in America. They're cheaper to make in a different country. So you can't punish them for that. And if you do that, then you're not going to get coffee beans in America. And imagine Americans without coffee. Yeah, have fun with that. You're going to have a lot more Adderall prescriptions.
Now, how would you feel then, Javen, if, say, said company was domestic here, U.S. headquartered, U.S. all of that, they may not be able to, but they have the farms down there. You know, I guess similar to like China buying up our farmland. But if they're, you know, what if United States buys, you know, somebody buys a coffee bean farm?
And it's
would
international.
You be okay then? Would you be okay with them then transporting those beans and getting that 15% if it was made then here in the United States. The farm's there, we can't grow it here, so we import it hypothetically from a United States company that happens to have the farm outside the country.
I mean, I think let me know if I answer your question. I want everyone to get. I think the corporate should be 0%. I want the corporate tax to be 0%. So I think everyone should be getting 15% if you're being realistic here. So I don't care if you're made in America, not made in America. 15%, 50% is what you're gonna get. That's my belief on it. If I answer your question or not.
But yeah. I don't want any taxes at all either. I would love to have no corporate taxes. Love to have
corporations are businesses are the backbone to America.
So I just did a quick Google search because I was curious what China's tax rate is. Obviously, they're our biggest competitor. They actually are doing 25% tax rate if it's from outside of China, and 15% if they're inside China. Which so Trump basically wants to attempt to have the Chinese model be more competitive in that way.
I mean, it's helping American people, right? Kind of like, I don't know why, but I kind of thought about it like this. You know, when you get a job and you get a discount at the job.
The employee discount.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, people here in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee County has a higher sales tax than Waukesha County. So you can buy a hammer at Home Depot in Milwaukee County and spend more. So I don't know what the price break is, but it'll be more expensive than 15 minutes down the road in Waukesha County at the same.
You just brought up a good point. So we could say all this 15% tax, but then if you're a corporate company, you're like, great internationally, and then you look into it and you're like, oh, well, I still have to pay state corporate income tax somewhere, right? And local stuff too. Like versus China, I think it's just one big thing. From my understanding, they don't have like states and all that stuff that do taxes.
So that means that we're doing it the right way. But I mean, what we have now is great. Let the consumer decide. If you see a made in the USA stamp, you want to buy that, by all means, pay $1 more. That is your choice to do that. I just fear that what Trump's plan is gonna do is gonna make, let's keep my coffee bean example going. It's gonna make these coffee bean companies have to grow coffee beans in America, which means they have to start buying special kind of fertilizer, special kind of soil, special kind of this and that, and tools to do it. That's gonna cost a lot of money to do that. Okay, what happens when they have to spend more on producing? They're going to raise costs on consumers. What happens when consumers have to spend more more cash on things? They start buying less of it. Maybe not coffee, but other things. They start buying less of it. And it's going to increase prices. That's what I don't want to happen.
Well, there's two things in what you said. Actually, there's one thing in what you said, and then I want to insert a thing. One thing you mentioned that you made a good point is regulation. I don't think you were referring to that, but when you were like, you have to buy all the special soil, that could be implied, like maybe the government here is telling you to do that. So deregulating is also another way to go, which I think the Trump administration will do, which will help us. Another thing that I thought of, we haven't talked much about it in the campaigns, but a couple people that I've talked to while out on the campaign trail this summer, and then including, I feel this way too, is sort of the morals of some of the things. Like, okay, we know China uses child labor. I understand it's cheaper to get like Nike shoes from child labor. What kind of moral do we want to set on that? Like, could we say, hey, let's make it cheaper. Let's find a way to make it Nike made here in the USA so we can put child laborers out of work so they don't have to do that, because that's unjust, right? I kind of think there's a little bit of a moral play in this too. If we're like, hey, if you can make it in the USA, because we also have high regulations of we don't allow child labor in the United States, that could also be good for the world too.
Well,
but I understand.
Yeah, America can impose those kind of restrictions on US based companies overseas. I mean, they did it to Apple, and Apple got sued a couple of years ago because of the way their factories were run. So we can impose those kind of restrictions on overseas companies that are based in America. And we're doing it now. Not saying we're enforcing it very well, but we're doing it now.
Well, okay, yeah, but they don't enforce it well. Like, for example, R.J. Reynolds Tobacco illegally was illegally selling tobacco products to North Korea, a state or a country that has a complete and utter embargo. Why they're basically our enemy here. They try to blow up Guam. Trump, I think, was working towards us being able to open things and make it his Richard Nixon handshake moment, but it obviously didn't work. I believe that if we're not morally aligned, that we should limit the amount of business we do with somebody.
That's
Like,
hard for me because the government deciding morality.
Government will decide morality. Okay, it's just a fact of history, right? Whether you want to sit here and say it's religious morality or not religious morality, whatever, there's going to be some sort of morality structure in government, right? So as a whole, right, would you allow child labor here in the United States?
Yeah, no, of course not.
So there's a moral standard right there.
But then
So that's my point.
See, I'm with you. I still want that slippery slope. But Gabrielle, you have something to say? You're still mute. You're still mute, Gab.
I have a question. What do you guys think about this? So we were talking about child labor at one point, and someone brought up a story, and they brought up their point of view, and they said, because of us being able to employ these children, this is the only way that they're able to make money right now. But what if we implemented a way to be able to educate them to end child labor, but yet still continue to be able to provide them with business so that they can still provide for their family? Or that's the only way. They all have to work together. What do you guys think about that?
Like overseas? I mean, so I have just off my gut feeling right off the bat, number one, it sounds like Operation Iraqi Freedom all over again. Like we're going to parachute in and just try to change the culture, and it's not going to work. On one hand, if you tried, we tried this corporation thing, and yet we have the DOJ going after companies having violations left or right, and you have companies like RJ Reynolds Tobacco who just sits there and goes, "Oh, I don't care. I'll just keep taking the fine. The fines aren't big enough to try." So we can't change the I just right off the bat, I don't think we could change the culture of the United States. We just have to be confident in our culture standards and apply it. Like, yes, cheapest and capitalism, but at what cost to people,
So, Gabriella, you brought up a good point about, the younger folks, the younger generation, participating in the workforce in order to support their family. You have to also look at their economic status of where they are in that country, right? There are no other opportunities currently for them to make that. But I have a question for the group as to what are you guys considering child labor? Because Wisconsin had we had a law that attempted to be passed. It was vetoed by Governor Evers this year that would allow that we could move the workforce age down to 12. Right now, it's currently, I think it's 14 or 15 if memory serves me correct, in the state of Wisconsin. So what is your definition of child labor? Is 12? Because I don't believe 12 is too young, especially in a farming community or you look at a lot of our families here in Wisconsin, we're a lot of bar owners and we're a lot of restaurant owners. So having our kids be able to work.
It's not age, it's forcing kids to work, right? You're talking about application of jobs and a family culture, right? I'm talking about people that are like, nope, you have to go to work. You're 7. No ifs, ands, or buts. You go do it now. Work in this factory. It's filthy, dirty. Things can be falling, rusty nail. Go do it now. Like, that's what I mean, child labor, right? We have a society that understands, like, yes, I agree with you. Like, yeah, 12 years old, work at the bar. You got a family business. I don't see what the problem is with that. Right, the parents will take care of them. If not, we got child protective services. If they're just going to start doing the forcing thing or whatever, they're not sending them to school or they're not homeschooling right way. But forcing somebody to work in like a coal mine, does that make sense?
No, it totally does. But what I'm saying is that's unfortunately, and as Gabriella had said, like that's their only way of one. Yes, they're being forced to work in that, but they are making some sort of penny wage, because on the back end when they go home there is no other way to support themselves, and their culture, their country is rice, is I mean, I don't want to stereotype the whole culture, but I mean it's not good for them when they go home.
So Michelle, before I answer your question, I want to get back to Gabriella's question because it kind of goes hand in hand when she kind of asked about how education can help the labor force, things like that. My biggest my response to that would be look at the country that we're talking about, and you can educate these kids as much you want. But when we look at the top, the government, if they're still that corrupt, that corruption, you can educate them at MIT. When they go back to their country, they're still going to be paying pennies and working in these broken down factories. So you have to start at the top when it comes to that kind of stuff. And to Michelle's point, we are privileged to live in America where we have laws, we have a structure that's going to protect these minors. So you can work at 6 if you want to, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. I don't see a problem with that because we have the systems in place to protect the minors. So when it comes to that law, I mean, 12, sure, why not? Especially when you have the parents' consent and you have a system that is designed to protect these minors, go for it. But in countries like these third world countries, find me one that does not have a corrupt government.
Oh, I know.
Exactly.
I mean, it's so sad.
In place. So
Like
if we have the
Ukraine.
systems in place, that's the real question when it comes to child labor. Are there systems in place to ensure this child is being treated fairly and with respect they deserve as a human being? If not, then there should be no question of if a child should be able to work in a factory or not.
Yep. And it is like you said, it is a tough situation, but I do agree with what Matt is saying. Morally, like knowing that these children are being I don't know if you guys have seen the videos, but they're crazy, they're sad. There's literally kids in the trash that we sent over, and they're like being forced to, and they're not protected or anything like that, they're just dirty, there's flies everywhere. It's just a really sad story. Then yeah, maybe, if you don't support it, then maybe they'll think differently and say, well, my biggest business was coming from here, this is not my option any longer, so now I'm gonna have to figure something else out. And then maybe they will start implementing, because sometimes we get comfortable, sometimes we think, this is all we have, we're gonna have to keep going with this, and they use the children or whatever. But maybe if they're put in a comfortable situation, they're gonna think better for themselves.
So I don't think things are going to change at all until, it goes back to the big name sports people. Was it LeBron James with his Nike shoe got rallied for it, and he didn't care.
I just also want to say, I don't think it's even just solely a United States problem. I think it's a Western civilization problem, because China and Western society are completely different. Until we in the Western society say no more China and going back to the Trump tariff thing, and what's best for America, and I'm so tired of America making stupid deals. Germany saying, hey, we're going to turn the gas pipelines on to Russia while simultaneously we're in NATO and Russia's fighting Ukraine. It's just like stupid stuff like that. Until the Western society gets smart and wants to overall think for themselves and get sort of the morality back, I don't think we're going to be able to change China. It's just something that I think through as we do these tariff wars. It's like no one's talking about the child labor that's over there. Like we talk about money for the U.S. and China, but there's still people on the other end that are forced to do this at the age of 6. But I do agree with Michelle. 12 is fine as long as they apply. It's of free will.
I just want to say this whole thing has just created my rant for the day, so I'm ready for that one, and I'm gonna save it.
I'm sorry, that was hilarious. But I think this is gonna be
rant and rave.
He said you're not gonna have to wait. No.
Well, I'm not going first. I'm not going first.
Well, before we go there, I want to talk a little bit into TikTok, because this kind of goes a little bit with Matt. What you're saying is kind of contradicting you right now. Because wait, do you believe in keeping TikTok or no?
No, either no. I don't want to keep TikTok. No.
Okay, then it's not going to contradict you, anyways. I mean, anymore. Okay,
No.
So if we just real quick, because I do want to get to the rants and raves. TikTok. Trump asked people, hey, if you want TikTok back, vote for me because I'm going to keep it. There's this thing going around. Is he going to be able to save TikTok? We know that Congress and the House, they both passed the bill where TikTok or ByteDance is either going to have to sell by January 19th, or they're going to have to get off our platform in USA. Will not no longer be available so for us to have it. So with that being said, do you guys believe TikTok could even be saved constitutionally because it's a day before inauguration? Or Jay, you know what? I'll go to Michelle first, and then or do you think that they're gonna have to like no, there's no way because this is a bill that was bipartisan. Both came together, and majority of Republicans said we do not want them here because of security reasons. What do you think, Michelle?
I read an article that Forbes that said that they wanted to push the ruling out till Friday, so it may come as soon as Friday. For me, absolutely, I want TikTok. I love TikTok. Are you kidding me? And the fact that people keep talking about how it's this Chinese company, it's owned by ByteDance, and the majority owners are not a Chinese company. The majority owners are, I think it's like 60% of one, of international owners, 20% of another one. Let me find the exact ones out. But anyway, it's not even owned by fully by the Chinese government. The government owns 1% in it, and it's got no headquarters. ByteDance has no headquarters. Some of the TikTok's headquarters is in LA. All of their servers are here in LA. I don't know that it's not well, yes, ByteDance is maybe in Beijing, or not Beijing, wherever it is. It's not a Chinese company. I don't, it may have been started there, but the majority of the stakeholders are not Chinese.
What about you,
1% is.
Javen? What do you think?
So my pushback on that is, I mean, we have seen that China does have the ability to get information from the users through ByteDance. I mean, I get that they're physically located in America, but they're so registered in China. I am so against ByteDance owning TikTok, so against it. I'm okay with TikTok. It just needs to be owned by an American company. That is a national security threat, and it needs to be addressed. I'm okay with TikTok. I'm okay with it. It just needs to be owned by an American company because of national security, and that's it.
Well, the majority of the board, there's the board of directors. There's 5 of them, 3 of which are Americans.
Right, they did that after. So Zhang
Put
Yiming,
makeup on a pig.
who owned
Put makeup on a pig.
yeah, Zhang Yiming's the guy who owns it, and Zhang is a Chinese entrepreneur, and yeah, you've got American board because they've tried to make it look like whatever at this point. But yeah, for national security reasons, it needs to be shut down. It's not a freedom of speech thing, right? Because you're not going after all these other social media companies. They're not even going after Truth Social. The government is, if they care, so. Just you got to separate it up. It's just like separating a monopoly. We don't want foreign interference. If you go back to Richard Nixon, prior to him being vice president of the United States under Dwight E. Eisenhower, they did stuff very similar when he was congressman and chair of the Committee of Un-American Activities, trying to keep communism out of the United States. And they broke up companies and they broke up ownership from communist Germany and all these other places from being able to infiltrate the United States, or at least they tried to. So we have precedent from this. After World War II, we did it. Obviously, we didn't finish the war, but I still think, you don't want your adversaries coming in trying to manipulate your own people. I say that, and the United States does that, but
we do enough of our own manipulation of our people.
We have we have 170 million about users in USA. That's a lot of users in the USA. That would be a lot of accounts that would be lost. As much as I love TikTok, my content gets popping on TikTok. That's the platform that gets the most views, the most interaction, engagement. I mean, I love it, but I do consider it could be a national threat. I definitely consider it could be. As an entrepreneur, I hate the fact that they're trying to make him ByteDance sell, because I would hate anyone to do that to me. And so I probably would be on that stance of, you know what, if I don't sell, I'm just going to stay over here, because I wouldn't want to be forced to sell. And maybe there's an ego thing there. But is it an ego thing, or is it because there's something further, much more beyond that? Who knows, right? But I would say as the president of the United States, I would want to make sure that, or any representative, any type of leadership in the United States, I would want to make sure that my country is protected and we have some type of regulation when it comes to that. That's how I feel.
Yeah, there's got to be a way just to protect. Like, okay, go back to COVID. Whatever your belief is on COVID, the fact that like a lot of these medicines that people needed were made in China, I think was also an eye opener too. Like, okay, so we're all shut down for whatever reason, and now we have this backlog of things. We're running out of stock on things, and you have to go to another country to sort of get some of this stuff, like important things. I'm not talking about potato chips. Okay, what if China owned military manufacturers in the United States, and then all of a sudden we're going to war with China, right? We wouldn't want that. There's got to be some level of government intervention, which I don't like government intervention as a whole. That's why I'm a conservative. You got to be strategic about it. I'm not liberal. I'm not a libertarian. You got to be strategic about it. And so that's why, I don't want China making our military stuff, right? Because then they can make it more expensive. They could just restrict it. It's the same thing with the TikTok. I don't want them manipulating American minds.
Absolutely. And also, I believe it will, because TikTok is used majority by US, a lot of people in the USA use it. A huge amount that are on TikTok, they're probably going to use different platforms if they do end up shutting it down, which is going to help those platforms or whatever. But I will say that when it comes to TikTok, a lot of people are going to be upset about it because that's their businesses on there, and so you got to think about that too. So it's like, it's just a hard decision to make, but at the same time, nationally level, security has to definitely come first. Again, I love TikTok and I hate saying that, but I do believe that would be the best thing. I do know that there's like maybe 3 to 4 different outcomes that can happen, because it is a little bit later on. It could actually not, it's going to be gone. That's the biggest potential, is that TikTok is going to be gone. That's the biggest potential.
Do you think there's a chance that the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, breaks them up and finds a way to find it a new owner?
I don't know.
Will it be Elon Musk?
Is it just the owner that is bugging you guys, though? I guess I don't. When you ByteDance, ByteDance, it's not a 100% American or Chinese company. Well, yes, part of it is. The majority of them are American made. How much more do you want them? So you want to force just the CEO guy out, and then TikTok can stay, or where's the line then? When how much more American do you want? How much more do you want it American before it's allowed to stay?
Well, I know that the issue was that the owner of ByteDance did admit that some type of leadership or communication was coming from China, that they had some say in it. And that's where they had a problem with it, because they were like, that's not okay. And then if so, then that would intervene with constitutionally being able to stop that, because it doesn't protect China because of our amendments. Anyways, I don't know. It's a big deal.
All Chinese companies, so ByteDance, they're required to have a communist committee in the organization, and ByteDance has a Communist Party committee in the organization, like on the board. Like,
so yeah, that's where the 20%, or I think the 20% of the co-founders is where that is. However, it's 60%, are international.
And I want to make. Well, go ahead, Michelle. Sorry.
Nope. Go ahead.
I want to make one more comparison, kind of going back to the Committee on Un-American Activities from Richard Nixon, and what led to that, and where I think if we don't kill this now, what it could lead to. Ronald Reagan was in a very liberal Hollywood, which a lot of these communist people like sort of infiltrated. And look at Hollywood today. It's not. It has a totally different projection now as far as the propaganda, whatever. It does not. I would say Hollywood does not align with American values anymore, and it stems from after World War II. If you don't nick it in the bud now, TikTok will end up like Hollywood maybe 60, 70, 80 years later. That's just where I first see it going, right? Because that's where China infiltrated first, was Hollywood. And you saw Ronald Reagan have to fight that before he was governor, right? And as the head of the Actors Union, and then fight it when he was governor of California. So It's just an ongoing process, and I hope America can fight it back. In fact, Michelle, you brought up a good point. Like, where do you draw the line now? What do you guys think about if Congress just passed a law that says, hey, there should be no Chinese ownership anywhere in the United States, or you have to have at 10% or anything like that? Like, we just restrict foreign ownership on anything. Like farmlands is a big deal. Manufacturing is a big deal. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, they'll just go around it. They'll create a company that's owned by an American, but then they'll buy 80% of that company. So they'll just go around it. I mean, it won't do anything. They'll create an LLC that's American LLC, and then they'll buy 80% of the LLC, and then they can then buy that farmland.
That's true. There's got to be a way to like track this stuff.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there are, but I mean, if there was, I don't know. I'm conflicted on that. I don't know. I don't want them buying farmland next to a military base. No, but I mean, if you want to buy a farmland behind my place, I don't know.
No, it's hard with foreign policy getting involved in some ways in American values, because the Constitution applies to U.S. citizens, and capitalism applies to U.S. citizens. But then you think of things like this. Well, you got to put security above like even capitalism. Sometimes it gets really hard to conflict that, because I thought about the TikTok thing. At first, my gut reaction was like a year ago was like, no, freedom of speech, whatever. And then I really heard the arguments out, and I thought about it, and I'm like, no, I think this is the right decision now.
That's funny. I was against it at first too, because as a creator, I love being able to use all the different platforms and all that. But when I looked into it and really heard both sides, I was like, okay, I get it. And we're going to be fine. Like, we'll just go to another platform and make it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to be beholden to Zuckerberg.
Oh God, please not Facebook.
Well, I mean, Instagram.
Let's blow up X. Let's just make a like Facebook, Instagram, and X all together at X.
If Elon could pull all of the features of TikTok, go ahead, ban it then tomorrow.
Right.
I would dump the talk for Elon all day.
Can you post this video and tag Elon on it, please?
We're gonna tag Elon. We'll tag Elon on it.
We're not even gonna have. Yeah, I'll sign up real quick. Okay.
And Elon, if you're listening, please buy MSNBC as well. We know it's for sale. That would be also great. Okay, could you imagine that one as somebody on the right? All of a sudden, now you have to start looking at MSNBC as it's conservative now.
What?
That should be so crazy.
Are they still for sale? I thought they were sold off. They were just branched off into a secondary sister site. I thought they broke off into two, because the Universal side versus the whatever, not Comcast, the news side of it. I thought that was already done. Like, they're not for sale. They just branched off because of the declining viewership on the one side.
Yeah, MSNBC had. Here, let me do a look, because my understanding is that they were already sisters.
They were never for sale. They just split off.
Right.
Like
yeah. It was just spun off. Like it was divided up and
kind of like linear TV and their streaming stuff.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but a lot of our problems are with China.
Yeah.
China was like the main topic today. Okay, not Hunter Biden. China.
Well, Hunter Biden had China. We just focused on the Ukraine corruption. So.
And we're such a consuming society, though, Gabriella. And if we could just rein in the overindulgence of cheap crap, we really wouldn't. Then we would really be able to hit them in their pocketbooks, because I mean, it's ridiculous. It's
Right. No, I agree. But I think we're safe to transfer into rants and raves. I can't wait to hear Javen.
Javen, start us.
But he said he doesn't want to go first.
No, I'll go first. Want me to now, because I kind of have what I want to say now.
All right. Well, second take in action.
Rant and raves.
All right. So like I said, you guys kind of got me riled up about this, thinking about now. But so look, I'm just thinking about like how now we're supposed to like sit here and get lectured by these woke companies while they're at the same time, they're profiting off the sweat and tears of those exploited people overseas, the workers overseas. My thing is like, just give us a break. I mean, that's ridiculous. Because at the same time, these companies shove diversity, equity, and inclusion down our throats like there's some moral authority, while at the same time, the supply chains are riddled with child labor of these women and children. How are you supposed to scold us? You need to clean up your house first before you come talk to us about anything. And it's like, you think we don't notice the hypocrisy? Like they slap a rainbow logo on their Twitter profiles during Pride Month while paying pennies to factory workers in countries where basic human rights are a joke. It's virtual signaling at its worst, performative morality designed to distract us from their bottom line greed. Because I know greed's a big thing in the corporate world. It is a thing. I know, surprising come from me. I love corporations. My thing, just stop preaching to us about social justice when your business practices are the exact opposite. Look, here's an idea. Instead of lecturing your customers, how about paying fair wages, ensuring ethical labor practices, and actually empowering the communities you exploit? Don't tell me about equality while funding oppression overseas. It's insulting, phony, and we see right through it. I yield my case.
Where's our round of applause thing?
I would. Oh. I was just thinking about that. We were talking about child labor because that just makes me so upset when they try to be all like, oh, I'm not gonna say that.
That's hilarious.
Right.
I'll go next. So my rant is I've been talking a lot to our Latino community about why they need to learn what the importance of immigration or illegal immigration is and how it's hurting our communities back at home. And if you didn't know, immigration is tied to human trafficking, and pretty much everyone knows that. But a lot of the people from other countries don't realize that. And so I'm on a mission to teach people this. And I am getting slammed on the internet. All my Latino communities coming against me for having opinions like we need to protect the border to protect the women and to protect the kids, right? So am I for protecting the border? Yeah, sure. But I'm for protecting the women and the kids. That's the point. So why are we so oblivious? And why are we being used as political pawns? That's another thing. So I'm just calling on the Latino community to wake up and to understand that it's not about a party, that it's about using our voices to really do what's best for our people. Not about being in America. It's about all these traps that are being set up. Is there a system to this, right? And if there is, then we need to expose the system because there are 300,000 children that are missing right now, and we need to know where they're at. But our Latino community is coming against me for speaking up against it, So it's like, wake up, Latinos.
I agree 100% with Gabrielle on that one. That got me jazzed up there.
It's like, because then you look like the bad person, like Candace Owens when she came against her, the Black Lives Matter movement. She was like, guys, wake up. This is not good for us. It's hurting us. And our whole community came against her. I feel the same way right now. Like, I love you guys. Like, trust me, I'm just trying to help.
No, you're taking the right. Your policy position is 100% what I agree in, and it kind of transitions a little bit to my rant and rave, which is protecting kids in general from all this trans stuff. I don't know if you guys saw the latest Supreme Court oral arguments the last couple of days, where Ketanji Brown Jackson and Sonia Sotomayor, speaking of Latinas there on the Supreme Court, looked a fool. Sitting there asking questions, well, what are we to say? What does the Constitution say if a 5-year-old thinks that she's a boy and girl and wants to do all this? I'm like, what is it the state of Tennessee's business to be telling a 5-year-old that they can't transition without their parents' consent? I mean, this goes to the moral thing again, okay? All governments of all humankind from all human races everywhere have some sort of moral standard, whether it's defined or not defined, whether it's a social contract or not. And this is an example of how transing the kids should be illegal, and it's illegal in 22 states. Tennessee just took it a step further and wants to fine parents for allowing it. I mean, it's just straight up evil, in my opinion, especially when they're 5. My daughter thinks she was an alien like 5 minutes ago. I don't know. They don't know what they're talking about at 5. But I'm also just as disappointed to hear from some of the justices that they just want to kick it back to the states and not rule it completely and blatantly unconstitutional. So that's prompted Congress, congressional members to say, then we're going to do a national ban. And I think that's the right thing to do if you're under 18, right? If you're above 18, I guess you can do whatever you want. It's really weird and sick that you want to do that. But if you're under 18, you should not. We don't let you smoke. We don't let you drink. We don't even let you get tattoos. You shouldn't be able to even change that, especially the tattoo thing. That's kind of the most contradictory thing. So that's my rant and rave for the day.
You know, yeah. But what was it? I don't know if it was Eliota or Sotomayor. Actually, it was like, well, ibuprofen has side effects too. That irked me so much when they said that. I was like, Anyway, that's not my rant and rave. Mine is also a rant. I'm sure you guys have heard Wisconsin, a liberal court judge overturned Act 10 in Wisconsin this week. We fought so hard 12 years ago to get collective bargaining overturned and to fight for Act 10 and to get more money back into our pockets. And because of the liberal court judge, he overturned it, stating that there was a loophole on fire departments or police departments, that they were outside of the jurisdiction and it wasn't constitutional because it was not fair to everybody. Whatever. It's been argued and it's been upheld for 12 years. And the only reason why they're doing it right now is because we have that Supreme Court race in April and they're trying to get this through now. And it really irritates me because since Act 10 started, it has saved Wisconsin taxpayers almost $31 billion. It's insane. And it beholdens people to the union thugs. You know, they're gonna lose the ability to have the option to join the union, which they right now do. They don't have to join it. And now they won't have that option if you're a union shop. You know, anyway, I'm looking forward to that fight again.
It's like putting a tax back on these people who weren't paying it. They might actually piss people off to vote against their side. I never understood the logic why they're doing that.
I was gonna say that's what happens when we just turned a little bit.
Well, yeah, teachers unions. They've got, we've got Evers. The teachers unions have a very big thing hold in Wisconsin, and it's. I mean, you look at that. You actually look at the quality of teachers since Act 10 was implemented has gone up in Wisconsin. The salaries have gone up where they said it wasn't going to. The class sizes have gone down. It's just done wonders for Wisconsin, and it irritates me that it could be all up in the air.
Well, I certainly agree with you, Michelle. Next week, I will not be here, but some of the other folks will be here too, and we're going to have more news for you on the news of the week. So we look forward to seeing you next week. But also don't forget that you have the Clayton and Jamin show you can find on YouTube. You have my show you can find on YouTube. We're doing a series of the top 10 best political comebacks. Number 8 will be released next week. So feel free to tune in for that. And then you also have Gabriella's show, American Latina, which can be found on Spotify, right, Gabs?
Yeah, you can either Spotify or YouTube.
Spotify or YouTube. So feel free to join in at any time. But until then, y'all have a blessed evening.
Bye.